Hey, what's up, everybody? This is an open discussion with C3 Films. My name is Chris, and this is.
Cheryl.
And today we are going to be talking about the grudge match of the century, Lizard versus Monkey, Godzilla versus Kong. Who is king? Who is the true ruler of all the kaiju? I mean, all of the giant monster creatures in this film. So, we are going to delve into spoiler territory here. So, if you haven't seen the movie, go and watch it and then come back and watch us talk about it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. I know that Cheryl and me are both on the same page when it comes to who we personally have a stake in when we're going into this movie. So we're not going to disagree this time. We are firmly in the camp of Godzilla whoop that monkey. But for the sake of just being or trying to be impartial, let's go ahead and just talk about like the movie as a whole and the treatment of both Godzilla and Kong. What did you think?
So initially, I thought it was interesting the way they opened it. I kind of liked the way they kind of fill us in with the while they're doing the titles, they kind of give us like some background information about how they're like ancient enemies and stuff like that, and kind of filling in the gaps of what has happened since then. Like they had like a seed, like a tournament, which is kind
Mm-hmm.
of cool and stuff. So the other thing that I thought was cool about the opening was for King Kong, and how like they made him seem like he's just a regular guy living his day-to-day life until like things get like kind of concerning, and then things are revealed about how he's actually in a habitat, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. I think that it was interesting that they painted King Kong as kind of more of a human this time around as opposed to Skull Island. They gave him more humanity than they did in Skull Island, which
Right.
I kind of liked. What I didn't like is that they painted Godzilla like the enemy, like he's a bad guy and that he was going to be the villain of the movie. And I was like, no, 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 no. I know they're going to fight, but that doesn't mean that Godzilla has to be the villain. And so I didn't really like that. I didn't think it was fair. I think it was more about King Kong than it was about Godzilla, even though we all know that Godzilla is better.
It's funny that you mentioned that because like when I got done seeing the movie, I ended the movie and I turned to my roommate and I literally said to her that this feels more like a Kong sequel than a like kind of Godzilla and Kong sequel. Like it really does feel as if the movie is framed from the perspective of Kong being the main character and our main hero, so to speak, and Godzilla kind of being that antagonistic force that he eventually is going to come up against. Even though Godzilla has had two movies up until this point to kind of establish Godzilla as a character within this world and in this universe. Um, and part of me feels like they might have done that because Skull Island takes place in like the 70s, and these movies are now taking place in the present day. So we haven't seen Kong for so much, and Kong did have one movie while Godzilla had two. So that's why we have all this backstory with what's been happening with Kong since the 70s, to try to fill us in. Because if you think about it, there's a lot of things that happen with Kong as far as story wise that happened off screen. Because the last time we saw Kong, he was on the island, and he was free. So between then and now, we have this new scientist and this new child, and we've heard that Kong is captured, and we heard that all of the natives on the island that on Skull Island were all wiped out and killed, and all that stuff happens off screen. So that's a little bit of an interesting way of dealing with it. But so I don't know how I feel about it overall. But when I ended the movie, I had the same thought that it felt like more of a Kong sequel rather than a kind of sequel to both of these characters.
I think the problem with it though is that if you're coming at it from a neutral perspective, and maybe not even having seen the other movies first, it makes you want to root for King Kong because they really paint Godzilla as like more of an enemy figure, even though they do end up teaming up at the end. But for until then, King Kong is, I mean, not King Kong, Godzilla is painted as the enemy even to the people in the movie.
Right. Which is also strange because, so this is going to start leading, we're going to start jumping around a little bit. This leads me to one of my issues with the film, which is the human characters for Godzilla's side, like Millie Bobby Brown and her dad, literally do nothing that affects the plot for basically the entire movie up until the very last moment, just so that they can glitch, the final boss. And this is a spoiler, so we're getting right into it. So they can glitch Mecha Godzilla. That's literally the only thing they do. If you remove those characters from the plot, nothing changes up until that specific moment. So, and it feels very imbalanced because you have the human element that's associated with Kong, and they are very much involved with Kong, and that's why it feels more like Kong's movie, because we have these emotional connections to these characters. But Millie Bobby Brown's character, who has stake in Godzilla in the King of the Monsters movie, doesn't even get to really even look Godzilla in the eye in this movie. So it's just that kind of disconnect. And I had this feeling that's like you and your dad, your characters are basically just in this movie just to show us that this is a universe film, because you really don't do anything for the plot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like most of it is really just there so that we could be told. I mean, I was gonna point this out. There's a lot of exposition. They're not
Yeah.
very sly with it. I felt like I didn't know what was going on. The only reason why I would know what was going on is by like rewinding it and actually listen to what they're saying. But if you don't like pay attention to it, it's not done through visual explanation. It's just like people talking, explaining what's going on, and then there's a fight scene, and then they talk more about what's going on, and there's a fight scene, and a lot of the explanation that's happening is coming from the characters at Apex. The
Mm-hmm.
what's her name, Madison and Tapwater and Bernie, they're all like just snooping around, and their snooping around is like they're not even just snooping around and then finding out things. They're snooping around and then saying what they're figuring out.
Oh, you mean they're having their Stranger Things moment?
Yeah.
Because that's all I thought about when I saw her like going around with like their little group, and them being like two kids and one kind of loony adult walking around, getting into like highly secure facilities, basically just walking through the front door. And side note, I had three major issues in this movie, and since we're here, I'm just gonna bring them up right now. One, when you get into a cargo container with no seat belts, no seats, and it's going at over 600 miles an hour, you're not okay. All right, they're like, you have literal people that have to train to move to be in a vehicle that moves at that speeds. Like, I was like, I don't think you guys should be okay. And then second of all, when they were talking and trying to get Kong to go to like the center of the earth, or the place where all the other giant creatures are from, and I love how they're waiting for the girl to like tell Kong to go, and then when it's almost like they don't expect Kong to like listen to them, but the moment that Kong starts going, they're all like, "Oh, wait a second, we have to all get in our ships, run, 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 run!" It's like, you guys weren't just like sitting there prepared to leave for when he actually did say yes. I mean, it feels really bad because now you might lose him. Fortunately, you caught up, but that felt very dumb. And then the last thing that really bothered me was the villain character in the movie, the woman that was from, I forget her name, but she was from Baby Driver, and she was also in Hobbs and Shaw, the daughter of the main villain in the movie, the guy main villain. When she accomplishes her goal, uploads the thing, and then jumps in the ship, and they're about to leave, they actually shoot at Kong. And I'm like, why are you shooting at Kong? You just want to get out of here. And like, when you shoot at him, it's going to call his attention to yourself. And that's exactly what happens. And then Kong looks at them, grabs them, and then crushes them. And I was just like, okay, there's a lot of dumb choices that are made in this movie.
I thought that was an accident because they were trying to shoot at one of the like bat things.
Maybe. I feel like when I was watching it, she said something like "hit him" or something like that, and then they shot Kong, and it's like, guys, just no. just go by, fly
Yeah.
into the hole. You're still screwed because you got Godzilla on the other end of that hole, but whatever. Um, there's a point. I think the movie is a very fun movie, but there's a lot of dumb things that happen in the movie that you have to turn your brain off to fully enjoy.
Yeah, I even don't really see the point of that character at all, like being the daughter. Like she could just be some lady
Right.
who's who happens to be in charge. But I don't know why they had to throw in like I'm the daughter, again with the exposition there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't really increase the motive for her doing whatever she's doing.
True.
Um I also didn't like the her father's character because he was very like one
Anything.
dimensional.
He's nothing.
Just one dimensional. He just like wants to do bad thing and that's it. Like there's no layers, there's no complex thinking about it. He just like, "No, I want to build a big guy."
Well, they have the implications of a complex plan. Like the idea is that Godzilla is an apex predator, which is why they named their apex is also on the nose. Their idea is that they want to be the apex predator. So they're really trying to create something that can supplant Godzilla as king of the monsters so that they don't have to be under the rule of these giant creatures in this world. So you could argue that his motivation is to protect humanity, but they don't even like really play with that much. If it was more of this thing of like, hey, look, you guys don't understand. We are literally just waiting for Godzilla to just have a bad day and then we're screwed. Like Godzilla might have left us in peace, but if he decides one day that he just doesn't want to deal with us anymore, we're sitting ducks. So what we're doing is literally just trying to make a way that we can defend ourselves if in case Godzilla does attack us. And then you have believable motivations and the hint of the plan is there, but they don't really like lean into that aspect of it. It leans more into what you were saying, where he's kind of like, I'm the evil guy and we will be the true apex predators on the planet. And not so much, I want to protect us because we could literally die if this thing decides to turn against us.
Yeah. I feel like they could have done a lot better with that character in general and like the plan and the motivations just could have been a little bit better executed, I guess. But just everything about Apex is just like you said, like the about the transport to Hong Kong and that cargo thing, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not just even that. It's just the fact that they got in there. There was like no security. They just walked right in. There was no like it wasn't hard, and then like they were just delivered to the exact space
Where they
in
need to
Hong
be.
Kong for them to discover um Mecha what is it?
Mecha Godzilla.
Mecha Godzilla. I said the same thing. I was like, "Oh, it's Robo Godzilla." No,
Wow.
no, Mecha Godzilla.
Come on. That's a reference. That's actually a character from the old stuff. The old Shoho era of like those monster movies. You know, Mecha Godzilla is a classic thing back from those old movies. So yeah, not Robo Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla. You get it right.
I mean, Robo Godzilla sounds more fun.
No, it doesn't. You're wrong. Mecha in front of everything just sounds cooler. Like Mecha Sonic, Mecha Godzilla, Mecha. It doesn't even matter. It just does. So
Okay.
point is,
Sure.
yes, you're right. They get delivered right to where they need to be with like no issue whatsoever. And then they don't even get seen when they're down there having to run from the skull crawlers, and the guy like saves them.
Yeah, because, like, basically they were our guide to discovering everything that Apex is doing with no consequence.
Right. Exactly. But they don't physically like they themselves are exposition basically. They are vehicles for exposition because they don't actually influence the plot at all. Except for one moment at the very end of the film and it's barely anything. Like it's so inconsequential that you could have just written that Mechagodzilla had a glitch that occurred at just the opportune moment because he destroyed like the building that was like powering him. Like there's like so many ways you could have written around that one moment that they actually had an effect on that they really didn't need to be there, but they serve as the exposition for us as the audience, and that's it.
Yeah. But that aside, I really liked the fight scenes. I really liked
Mm-hmm.
that they actually showed us the fight scenes this time because they did a pretty bad job with that in the previous movies where we were just seeing a lot of human stuff and like whatever was going on with the humans and like the fighting is just in the background. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought it was cool that the Godzilla and Kong were able to like have a fight and we could see that communication between them. Like we could tell what they're thinking just from like they're not talking. So it's the very coveted show not tell thing that they didn't do with the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoyed the fight their first fight um in the ocean because that was cool. That was like no way is Kong gonna win.
Yep. That's what I was like. I was like, yo, bruh, you on my turf right now. You have no chance.
He can swim and he can breathe underwater. And Kong, you can just stand there on the boat. That
Right?
one little
Like,
boat that is only big enough for you to sit on.
yeah, Godzilla's literally trying to drag you underwater and drown you. Like, you cannot even try. But I love how they make sure that you know that these like creatures, like they're very personable. Like they have personality, which I thought is great. But they want to make sure that you know that they are jerks. They don't care about people. Kong literally picks up a jet and throws it, and there's a person in the jet when he throws it. They do not care about killing people, which we're going to get more into in a minute, but they literally do not care. So I love that it's like, okay, they're the heroes, but they really couldn't care less about any of the humans except for like the one or two they care about.
Right. Um,
So,
yeah, that's true. Their motives aren't really about protecting people. It's just more about being the alpha creature,
mm-hmm.
and consequently, the, because they don't care about the humans, it makes them seem like the hero. I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, because they're the main characters of the film, which is fine. There's one part where I was even questioning if some of the humans cared about each other. Like the father of Millie Bobby Brown, I was like, "Do you care about your daughter? Do you know where your children is?" Like seriously, she gets in a thing that takes her all the way to Hong Kong, and yes, it's moving pretty quickly. But he even gets on a plane where he has to go to Hong Kong, and throughout that entire time, he doesn't know where his kid is. Like he's texting her and everything, and it's just like, dude, your child is literally missing.
Right? Call the cops. Like you know where she might be because she's been talking about basically telling him what she's investigating or what she's like looking into and the guy that she's listening to the podcast. So if
Mm-hmm.
he could connect the dots.
Right? No, exactly. He certainly could. But you know, whatever. That's not the point. Like you said, the point is like Godzilla and Kong and the fights. And I also agree with you. I really enjoyed the fights in the movie. Um, I was surprised that we got clear winners in each fight because so often in these movies they try to make it seem like it's a draw, but we got 3 rounds basically. Like it really was kind of almost like a cage match or something, where it's round 1, 2, and 3,
They even
and
say
the
that in
rounds
the
went.
movie. They even say like,
Yeah,
"Oh, what is it? 2-1 or 1-2 or 1-1?" I don't
yeah,
remember.
yeah. So yes, and we know Kong loses his first fight, and then Kong goes to the magical world of the Upside Down, and is able to like find Thor's magical axe, and then is able to use that to fight against Godzilla when he literally jumps through a hole in the center of the earth that takes him back to the regular to back to Hong Kong, where poor Hong Kong, because that place is basically extinct after this fight.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you think when we got to like that fight and you saw like Kong basically using his electrical axe to basically fight Godzilla?
exactly what you said. It was like Thor's hammer, and I was like, what is this? Like, why do they have? I mean, I thought it was cool that someone had a weapon, and I thought, like, I
Mhm.
guess like it helped him stand up against Godzilla, but not quite.
Right? That's because Kong's real ability, like Godzilla has the ability to breathe fire or breathe like laser breath, whatever you want to call it. But Kong's real ability is the ability of the opposable
I
thumb.
was just gonna say, and agility.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I love. So one of the things I had fun doing in this movie was I dubbed over all of Kong and Godzilla's dialogue with my own. So whenever they would like be looking at each other and roaring, I'd be like, "I ain't scared of you. Yeah, we'll bring it, punk. Roar!" And I was like playing with my action figures while watching this movie, and I think that's when the movie is the most fun.
I'm so glad I wasn't with you.
Oh man, you would have had more fun with the movie. I would have had you rolling, like quite literally. Even when that moment when the third fight happens and Kong's on the ground and Godzilla's stepping over him and like yelling at him, like get in line, and Kong's like, I ain't scared of you, and Godzilla's like, I like you. I'll let you live.
I like you. I like you. Okay. Yeah, maybe if we were together, you'd be like, okay, I'll be Kong, you be Godzilla.
Right? Oh man. So yeah, so that I think is I think that what you said about them being really personable and showing those interactions are the only reason I can even do that in the first place, because you can tell what they're thinking without them. They don't speak English, they don't use dialogue, but you know exactly what both creatures are feeling.
I did have a problem with the first fight though, because I thought that the fight was cool, but how
Mm.
like it ended was dumb because they're like turn everything off. Cuz like apparently Godzilla has short range scanners or something so he could tell what like living beings are there. Like it just didn't make sense how them turning all the boats off would make Godzilla not sense Kong there anymore.
Well, it wasn't that he didn't sense Kong. The point of turning everything off was to show that they were bending a knee.
Mm.
Basically saying we're not gonna fight anymore. So like, and they made this clear in like King Clash of the or King of the Monsters, where it's not always about just killing the other creature. It's about dominating the other creature. And as long as you submit, you get to live. So Kong lying on that helicarrier and not moving, and Godzilla look at him like, "You good?" And Godzilla being like, "Yo, I don't want it." Godzilla's like, "Good," and then leaves. So the thing was though, if they had like if Kong had gotten back up, or if they had turned on everything again, and made it look like they were ready to fight some more, Godzilla would have come back and killed them. And that was their argument.
All right, okay, I'll buy.
so then so we talked about the main fights. What about the final fight where they actually team up? We all knew it was going to happen. It happens in these versus movies every time. By the time Mechagodzilla shows up and is staring down Godzilla, and Kong is basically inspired by the little girl to say, "Hey, look, Godzilla's not the enemy. Go help him. Go help him fight." Like, how do you think they handled the final fight of the movie?
I thought they did a good job. I didn't have any problems with it. I was pretty much enjoying it, so I don't really have anything bad to say. Um, I thought it was cool. Like I like how they did have an actual moment of teamwork. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that they were like, taking turns and stuff, but they actually did something together, which I thought was cool, and that was when Godzilla shoots his laser at the axe, which gives it a boost. So he wasn't like, well, I'm gonna take a hit on this guy. It was more like, I'm gonna give you a boost so that you could do the final blow.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like I'd be really curious about how different fans of these creatures feel, because if you're a Kong fan, I could see you being disappointed with the fact that Kong loses, like definitively, because Godzilla literally wins the last round with his foot on Kong's chest, and Kong can't even like get up and is literally about to die until they're able to like use their Chekhov's gun to save him. And so when and then if you're a Godzilla fan, you're probably happy about that, but you're probably not as happy with the fact that Godzilla didn't also get to get any final blows in on Mecha Godzilla. So like did you feel like you said that you liked the fact that Godzilla charged the axe up, which I like too. But did you feel like you wanted to see Godzilla also getting some hits in with Kong as they both dismantle Mechagodzilla together, or was it fine that it was just all Kong in that moment?
I think he did, like, he had a lot of good blows, I guess, like while they were fighting together. I did see that
Mhm.
Godzilla was still putting in his fair share of blows on Mechagodzilla. So I don't think I was disappointed with the final battle, especially since he won. Like he was fighting Mechagodzilla by himself after fighting King Kong. So
Right.
he's tired. He needed like a nuke or something to like recharge.
Right. No, I mean I love how like even at the end of that fight after Kong beats Mechagodzilla, Kong just finds a building and just falls down like, man, I can't do this no more. I need a break.
Yeah.
So I think the movie is fun. I don't think it's necessarily a good movie, but I do think that it is an absolutely fun movie. And if you go into the movie and you turn your brain off, you'll have a good time.
I mean, it's a monster movie for fighting. It's an action destruction movie, and that is what you get. And I guess I didn't expect for the story to be that great because of that, and because the movies before it were also not that great.
Skull Island is great. Skull Island's a good movie. Go check it
Sure.
out. Watch it again.
I did watch it. I did see it. But anyway, we can go into that. Um, I think that it was kind of just what you would expect from that kind of like that genre of movie. Um, and if you're looking for a deep story to be told, then you're looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, I agree there. The last thing that I kind of wanted to bring up was that I thought it was a missed opportunity. I understand. I understand why Hollywood does it. I don't always love when they do it, and we'll get more about this on our when we talk more on our Twitch channel. But kind of a missed opportunity to not have the final conflict be in Japan instead of Hong Kong, considering that Godzilla, his birthplace is Japan. He's a Japanese creature, so it might have been really cool, especially since he was victorious over Kong and they were fighting Mechagodzilla. It could have been kind of cool if they were actually fighting in Japan, but Hollywood does want this to be in Hong Kong because they also want to be able to sell it to China and have it be successful overseas. So I understand why Hollywood does that, but to me that felt like a missed opportunity.
Well, they also did the first one in Japan slash Hawaii.
That's true. That's true. That might be why they decided. Maybe they're like in the context of the story. They're like, we don't want to just destroy Japan
Again.
over and over again.
Right. But yeah, I mean, we can go into that too. But I think it's okay for it to have been in Hong Kong. That didn't actually bother me because it was still an Asian country.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too far off from Japan, especially with like the way that the structures are, like the very tall buildings. So
Yeah.
I think it didn't bother me.
No, that's fine. And like, I think just at the end, I just felt bad because they made sure they kept showing you that people were running. So the entire time during this fight, you were knowing that people are dying. And I'm thinking to myself, yo, Hong Kong is gone. Hong Kong is no more after this,
Well,
after
all
this
the
battle.
buildings were like they basically knocked down all of the buildings.
Right? Just like, and that's why I was just like, yeah, these they're not heroes. We are fighting in the middle of a city fully populated with people, and we keep cutting to people running. So we want you to know that people are still in this city. So yes, people are absolutely dying. There is so much destruction in this film.
But you can blame Apex for building their Godzilla attractor right in the heart of a big city.
Right? Which also goes back to how you started this whole thing, where it does frame Godzilla as more of as kind of more of a villainous role, because it shows that even though Apex did build their like kind of homing Godzilla beacon, whatever, Godzilla doesn't discriminate, doesn't like try not to destroy things. He just is like, I don't know where this is coming from. I know that it's here, and I know that there's things between me and there, and me and there. So I'm just gonna destroy everything on the way there. So it's like, all right, Godzilla. Yeah.
I mean,
So
he's a big guy. He can't really suck it in and just like shimmy through the buildings, you know.
yeah,
It's
I
not
guess
his
you're right.
fault. It's all Apex. If Apex was somewhere else, it would have been nothing.
Yeah, no, I guess that's fair. The other thing is that we never see Godzilla. Godzilla never tries to save anybody. We at least see Kong try to save people, like when they first get to that other world, and those like kind of Rayquaza dragon creatures try to eat some of the people. He actually goes and actively fights to protect them. So that also poises or positions him as more of a hero in that way too, as far as it being a Kong movie.
Right, but like we also mentioned, Godzilla doesn't have opposable thumbs, so it's
He
gonna be
got
a
a
little
tail.
hard.
Whip that tail back and forth. Get that tail some work a little bit.
Whip it,
But
whip it real good.
we're running up on time now. Is there anything else you want to mention before we close out?
Nope, I am good to go for this one.
So, what did you guys think about Godzilla? Have you guys seen it? Did you like it? Was it the Clash of the Titans that you had always been hoping for since you were a kid? Regardless, whatever you guys thought about it, comment below. Let us know. And while you're down there, if you give us a like, share, and subscribe. Even if you don't, though, I have been Chris, and this has been
Cheryl, and we will see you all next time.